Hey there. Today we're going to go over factoring quadratic equations and solving them. It's presented by Mark's Tutoring, my tutoring business. If you want individualized tutoring, contact me below. All right, let's start with the easy one. X squared plus 4x plus 3 equals 0. It's always got to be equal to 0 so that we can factor it and solve it. And we basically need two numbers that are going to multiply to 3 and add up to 4. Since this is a positive number, it could either be a negative and a negative number, but since this is positive also, it's going to be two positive numbers so that they can add up to 4 as well. So we're going to be working with two positive numbers on this one. And the first step I like to do is find two numbers that multiply to 3. There's only two numbers that multiply to 3 because it's a prime number. It's 3 times 1. They're both going to be positive because this is positive and this is positive. And then we check to see if those numbers add up to what those numbers add up to. And they add up to 4. And so so this is our answer. And we're going to rewrite that x plus 3, x plus 1 equals 0. Let me expand that just to make sure that it works. So x times x is x squared. X times 1 is plus x. 3 times x is plus 3x. And 3 times 1 is plus 3. We combine the like terms, so we end up with x squared plus 4x plus 3. And that is equal to our original problem. So these two are equivalent. Now, to solve this, we use this equation. So we're going to get x plus 3, x plus 1 equals 0. And so since these are in parentheses, if this part of the equation equals 0, then the whole thing will equal 0. And if this part equals 0, then the whole thing will be equal to 0. And so we can solve these individually. Let's start with x plus 3 equals 0. Subtract 3 from both sides. 3 minus 3 is 0, so we just left with x. And 0 minus 3 is negative 3. On the other side, we do x plus 1 equals 0. Subtract 1 from both sides. 1 minus 1 is 0, so we're left with x. And 0 minus 1 is negative 1. And so those are our answers, negative 3 or negative 1. And if you put those back into the original equation, they'll both come out to 0. Let's do a little bit more difficult. I'm going to do x squared minus 12x plus 11 equals 0. All right, so we need to multiply to 11 and add up to negative 12. Since this is a positive number and this is a negative number, we know that the two numbers that multiply to 11 have got to be negative so that they can add up to negative 12. And so let's look at what multiplies to 11. All right, again, we have a prime number and we need them both to be negative. So it's only a negative 11 times negative 1. And negative 11 times negative 1 is equal to positive 11. And let's add those up. Negative 11 minus 1 is equal to negative 12. And that's what we're looking for. So we rewrite this as x minus 11, x minus 1 equals 0. Now we do x minus 11 equals 0, and so that's going to be 11. X minus 1 is equal to 0, and that's going to be 1. And we have solved our problem. go a little bit more difficult. We're going to change our c value to a non-prime number, so that'll give us some choices. X squared plus 7x plus 12 equals 0. Since this is positive and this is positive, both numbers are going to be positive. We need two numbers that multiply to 12. So there's 12 and 1. There's 6 and 2. And there's 4 and 3. All right, and then we also need them to add up to 7. So 12 plus 1 is equal to 13. 6 plus 2 is 8. And 4 plus 3 is 7. So that's the number we're looking for. And we've got it. Now just a matter of rewriting it. X plus 4, x plus 3 equals 0. And our answers are going to be -4 and -3. Let's do another one. X squared minus 7x minus 18 equals 0. So we need to multiply to -18. And since this is negative and this is negative, one of the numbers that multiplies to -18 has got to be negative, because otherwise we won't have a negative number. And the bigger number must be negative because this is negative. So let's start with 18 and 1. So it's going to be -18 times 1. Next we have 9 and 2. -9 and 2 is -18. And we also have one more, -6 and 3. So now these three combinations multiply to -18. Let's add them up and see if any of them equal -7. -17, nope. -9 plus 2 is -7. -6 plus 3 is -3. And we're looking for -7 for them to add up to. And so this is our solution. X minus 9, x plus 2 equals 0. And so our two answers to make this 0 would be 9, and to make this 0 it would be -2. Alright, let's do one more. X squared minus 10x minus 56 equals 0. Alright, so we needed to multiply to -56, and one number has got to be negative, one's got to be positive, and the bigger number has got to be negative. So we'll start with the biggest one. -56 times 1. And let's do it in half. -28 times 2. Let's do it in quarters. Alright, this one's tough. -14 times 4. And there's one more. There's -8 times 7. Alright, so let's add them up. That's -55. That's a no-go. -28 plus 2 is -26. -14 plus 4 is -10. And -8 plus 7 is a -1. And we're looking for -10. And so that's our solution set. X minus 14, x plus 4 equals 0. And so our answers are going to be, oh man, I hope I didn't go off the bottom. Our answers are going to be x equals 14 and negative 4. All right, thanks for joining. If you need some tutoring, you can look at my contact info in the comments. Thank you.